r/NoStupidQuestions, why does Reddit seem to hate suburbs? Because people have a really hard time grasping the fact that other people might prefer a different lifestyle than them. I really think it's that simple. I hear the same from people who live in rural areas who can't even fathom why anyone would want to live in the city. Yeah, I think this is true. Probably BC, they don't get stuck in traffic. Probably just age demographics. Young adults want things to do within walking distance. Parents want schools within walking distance and don't mind driving to other things. What suburbs have schools within walking distance? For what it's worth, I like the suburbs and think I prefer them to cities. But I'm definitely biased as someone who grew up in the suburbs. Both have pros and cons, it's a matter of values and preferences. And the good things about cities: less car dependent, usually more left-leaning/diverse, cheaper housing, more exciting, more nightlife, tend to appeal to young people, which is a large portion of Reddit's user base. I love living in the suburbs. We live in a town we love that's safe with really good schools. But we also live in a suburb that has a ton to do in close proximity to us. We're 15 minutes from 3 major sports teams, a major outdoor concert venue, 2 airports, bodies of water, and hundreds of restaurants/shopping. I wouldn't want to live in the boonies, but also don't want to live right in the city. Love everything about it. I see this in movies and TV shows even more. People from big cities probably like to look down on everyone else. I grew up in suburbs and find it way more comfortable than a big crowded, noisy city and more convenient than a remote rural area. I grew up in a ghetto and wonder the same thing. I've never lived in one but would like to. They seem safe, clean, and quiet. I grew up in the burbs and I can't imagine it not being that way. I know kids who were in families in big cities and it sounds so odd to me, haha, running around the neighborhood, getting into trouble is so clutch. But it was also the 90s, so everything was sick: neon windbreakers, rollerblades, jet skis, and it was radical as fuck. Suburbs tend to appeal to parents because feel relatively safe and they typically have lots of activities for children. They tend to appeal much less to older children and young adults because there are fewer entertainment opportunities and that family-friendly vibe. Suburbs are literally empty by definition. If you're a homebody and dream about being at home all the time, of course a suburb with a house sounds great. If you want to go out and do things, then you're willing to sacrifice a decent-sized house to have easy access to things to do. You couldn't pay me enough to live in a city. Give me lawns and space or give me death. Half our population is crammed into a few densely packed cities. Mostly filled with people who, for one reason or another, want to be in the city. So usual human tribalism about putting down non-city dwellers. It's the same energy as calling some of the country flyover states. I love living in my suburbs. Suburbs are jail for teenagers. Realistically, it's because a lot of people who both grew up suburban and also spend a lot of time on Reddit are bitter toward how hard it was to make friends when you have to drive everywhere. Some people really believe that had their towns growing up been walkable and denser, their social lives would have been made for them. Obviously lots of people love living in the suburbs. I grew up in the suburbs, left, and never want to return. Wait till ya see how they treat folks they found out live on big land in the country. Only way to live imo. I mean, some people take it to extremes, but I've always preferred tiny house, big land. I don't want to live in a suburb because I like the freedom attached to rural life. No hoa. Neighbors are far enough away that they don't hear my peacock screaming for no reason or care that my pigs root up my property. I can see the constellations at night because it's dark as hell out here. I don't hate the suburbs, but suburban life does sound like a nightmare to me. But so does city life. This was me. Hated the suburbs, moved to the city, and now I can't wait to be back in the suburbs. Sitting in a house like that but outside is dead with nothing to do is how people get depressed. I for one love suburbs. I have every single thing I need, groceries and minor stuff, it's less crowded, and if I need entertainment or some form of fun I can't get in the burbs, the city is only a few minutes away. Cities and suburbs are both overcrowded and lame. Rural mountainous areas are the best. I lived in Chicago my whole life and I'm sick of the congestion, noise, pollution, crowds, crime, and the climbing costs. My mental health got a lot better moving to a suburb where life wasn't as chaotic. Your last statement is correct. It is a million times better. You'll find every opinion out here obviously, but Reddit skews young and young adults skew towards city living. I think one day the burb life will be amazing for me, and that would be 100x over if I had kids or if I couldn't afford the city. But I'm just not there at this point. I love my neighborhood and love being close to businesses I patronize. For some, the dream is to have easy access to lots of different experiences and not be dependent on cars. Suburbs can feel isolating. I don't get why people dislike cars like that either. I love being in my own space with heated seats, climate control, podcasts, music, etc. Whenever I take the bus/subway it's cramped and has like mad bow smell or douchey people blasting music. And it's like, why would I want to be dependent on that when I can just hop in my car whenever? Honestly, I feel like suburbs are not as fun as when I was a kid. Maybe just because most of the kids in my neighborhood have grown up and gone to college, but no one trick or treats or goes all out on Christmas decorations anymore. I don't know. Probably depends on the neighborhood. I live in a suburb that has a mix of houses and apartment complexes, so it's fairly dense by suburb standards. It makes it more lively, and Halloween is very active with most participating and lots of foot traffic. Hating suburbs isn't just a Reddit thing. Lots of 90s movies are about suburban angst. When you're a kid growing up in the suburbs you feel like cool stuff is happening in the city, but you're too young to drive there. I was born and raised in the suburbs. I loved them then, and I love them now, but that's just me. To each their own.